Good evening, good afternoon, good morning from wherever you are getting this. Welcome back to another episode, another edition of the 3FOUR3 podcast, episode 64. Can't believe where time has flown. I'm your host, Jason. As always, I'm not alone. I'm joined by my co-host, AF. AF, how's it going, brother?
I'm good, bro. I'm good. Tired, but good. We move.
Lovely stuff, lovely stuff. And we joined by Wasim, guys. Don't be fooled. He's not a ref. He's not here from Pogmore. There are Newcastle fans within Cape Town. Wasim's an old friend of the channel. How's it going, buddy? Good to see you again.
Yeah, very good. Good. Thanks for having me on. And I can assure you there are lots of Newcastle fans in Cape Town and South Africa. I'm part of a WhatsApp group, and there's some guys even more crazier than me. So, yeah, definitely there are plenty of us around.
Okay, well, there that myth is debunked. There are actually more Newcastle fans in Cape Town. That's good to know. I think Alan Shearer rests easier tonight knowing that as well. Guys, we've got a busy program for you today. We're just going to talk a bit about the Spurs and Chelsea game, which is going to be kicking off in a few hours. We've got a few more previews and then just a bit of a recap. And we're talking a little bit about the European spots, the very coveted European spots. I'm just going to throw in a humble brag. Only Arsenal and Man City have confirmed Champions League for next season. But that's neither here nor there. This isn't about me and my lovely feelings. So we're getting the last game of what seems like a mammoth game week. We've had a lot in between. We've got Spurs versus Chelsea tonight. I think both teams had somewhat interesting games over the weekend. AF, just quickly, off the top, what are your thoughts on this evening's game, bearing in mind that the first round fixture was a bit of a circus show, wasn't it?
Yeah, so Aston Villa's they've been playing good football week in, week out. They ensured that I think they ensured that it's only Spurs that can touch them now for top four. And then on the other side, you have Chelsea they're basically a lucky packet team. I think that's the best way to summarize them at the moment. Like 1 week, they would be playing the worst football on the planet, and the next week they would be pulling out worldies, like in terms of performance, like they did over the weekend. Like they went 2-0 down, and then they just persevered and they pushed themselves and they played some of the best football that they have this season. And it's a weird one, and they were so unlucky to not get the win at the end of it. I mean, there were some dubious penalty calls over there as well. But yeah, I don't know. Like I don't know in terms of like where Chelsea is right now. In the development, can I call it development in their season progress? And then you have Spurs that is also like I can't actually like put my finger on it. They're fighting for top four. They want to get top four, but then they have like lackadaisical performances every now and then as well. It seems like a lot of the same between these two teams, but Spurs is just a little bit further down the road than what Chelsea are. I'm keen to hear what you guys think about it. Wasim?
I think with Spurs, I think they've got one way of playing, and I think they've been found out by certain teams that if you know
Newcastle, right?
Newcastle for one. I mean, we tore them apart and we gave him quite a thumping. So, but I think it's not only that, because if I look at the way Arsenal played against him at the weekend, they Spurs actually played well. I thought Spurs gave a really good performance overall, but take away a few moments where Arsenal attacked, they scored, and Arsenal scored from two corners. So set pieces, for example, has been proving to be quite a weakness for Spurs. And so teams are now finding out that if you attack them on set pieces, if you you load the area and you give good delivery, you could score. And so I think teams are finding out that Spurs have some weaknesses and they can be exploited. So that I think is the main issue with Spurs. Plus certain players like Madison, for example, it's gone off the boil after a great start to the season. So I think that's where things are going wrong for Spurs. Chelsea, on the other hand, they're making progress. I watch them every week, and I think there's a making of a good side there, but
Yeah.
they make silly mistakes, poor defending, and they concede at the wrong time. For example, like against Aston
Yeah.
Villa, conceded early in the first half and then late in the first half. So it's like you try and start well, and you try and
Yeah.
sure that you go into the break, on a level beginning or close, in the game, but then they concede. So some silly mistakes which they can, if they can get that out of the system, they can be a good side. So I think that's the thing with two teams slightly on different paths, but they've got certain characteristics which are quite similar. So it's going to make an interesting game.
Yeah, man, definitely interesting game. I think it sets up, and like I'd mentioned to AF, we have that previous fixture in our mind's eye, right? We have that. I think it was one of Andrew's first biggest tests, or big tests rather, and he persisted with his high line. And as easy as it was for Chelsea to get through, I think Nicholas Jackson, Raheem Sterling, they were getting caught offside like everything. I mean, it was literally a circus show. And you're watching it, getting frustrated, and you're like, all you have to do is just like play a ball over the top, run on, and these guys could not do it. These are professional footballers. And I have to agree that both teams, they have the potential to be a lot better than they've shown this season. I think for Spurs, they just lack the intensity that was needed in this back part of the season. They've fallen off, and okay, they've had injuries, but as we always say, many teams have had many injuries to key players in key areas, and teams have had to move on with it, make adjustments and things like that. And then on Chelsea's side, I just think it's a lack of experience in that team. You've signed all these young kids, you've signed them to massive contracts, and now you're just wanting them to work together, and I don't think that's how it works. I think their one true leader, Thiago Silva, is now leaving at the end of the season. So now I'm really not sure who they can possibly bring in to steer up that ship there. You got a whole lot of big, strong, young defenders, but with nobody really with experience of playing in the Prem for longer than 2 or 3 seasons. I think probably only Chaloba, and he is 24 or something, which is scary. It's actually very scary. So yeah, Wasim, just as we are talking on them, where are the key areas for this evening's game? Like, what are we expecting, and where are we expecting the key influences to come from for both teams?
So I think with Chelsea, it's Cole Palmer is obviously the key player. If he plays well, I think Chelsea generally play well. So if Spurs can nullify him, they'll go a long way towards doing well. But I think the main thing is the strike force of both teams. Nicholas Jackson is the type of player, he gets into good positions, but he's very wasteful. And if only he could finish, Chelsea would be a much better team because he's got the attributes of being a good striker, but he just doesn't finish. And then on the other hand, Son is the type of player, he will work hard for the team. He will, if he gets 2 or 3 chances, he'll generally put 1 or 2 away. And so I think that's going to be the key today is the teams will both create chances. There's no doubt about it. They've both got good players, good midfielders, and good attackers. But who's going to put the biggest amount of chances away? That's the key now, because at this stage of the season, it doesn't really matter how you play. Performance isn't as important. It's all about the result, and that's where it's going to be important. Is can the strikers put the chances away so that they can get the 3 points? And yeah, that's what I feel. It's the defenses are both have their weaknesses, both capable of conceding goal plenty. So I think that's not where it's going to be won. I think it's where it's going to be the strike force that's going to win it for either team.
That's fair. If you agreeing with Wasim's ideas there?
I agree with him, and just want to add some extra points with regards to like the Chelsea attack force. Like you have Mudrik, who is, I mean, we've said it so many times before, Ukraine Bolt. The guy is so much pace over there, and I actually think you'd probably be able to get the better of Pedro Porro throughout the game tonight. Then it's just about teeing off whoever's going to be chilling in that mid space. I don't think Nicholas Jackson, like, I think he has the potential to kick on if he finds some sort of confidence. But yeah, I mean, it's Cole Palmer. You can't look anywhere else. It has to be him. And then don't forget we have the battle of Richarlison and Thiago Silva. You must you know, Brazil's first choice striker versus Brazil's retired centre back. That's in line with his meme, right? That's in line with that meme.
No, that is in line.
Yeah.
Ouch.
So that's
going
to be.
Dissecting Richarlison, I think.
Sorry.
I said that's a segment on its own, just dissecting Richarlison.
I mean, you and Gabriel were having the battle on Sunday, so it's like if he comes up against a Brazilian, it's like he goes easy.
And that's what the meme was about. It was about Gabriel.
Yeah.
Like I feel like if Thiago Silva starts, if Richarlison starts, that's going to be a nice little thing to keep an eye on as well, because it seems like he wants to try and prove himself against all these Brazilian friends and colleagues. So there's some mini battles all over the pitch that we can keep an eye on. But yeah, definitely Cole Palmer on the Chelsea side, Son on the Spurs side. Those are my two picks for who to look out for.
Yeah, and I mean those two players have been synonymous this season with any sort of goals for either team. So I 100% agree. I think in that midfield, I think Postecoglou got it wrong over the weekend playing Højbjerg. I don't think we've seen the same Højbjerg for a very long time. I think we haven't seen the same Bentancur since he's come back from injury. But I think what worked for them at the start of the season was the combination of Saar and Basuma. And I think what hasn't been working for Chelsea, and okay, maybe they've sort of got out of one now, was the Enzo Caicedo pairing. That's not working. They're both similar players. Both of them don't want to sit. Both of them are box to box. And I don't think they could nail that down. So I think in the Chelsea games where they've played a lot better, it's been when they haven't been paired together. And now obviously Enzo's out for the rest of the season. I think he's torn his groin or something like that. So I think it'll be interesting who's able to marshal that midfield the best. I think that's because both of those front players are heavily reliant on receiving good front football. And I think that's what a good midfield gives. I think both sets of midfielders, if it were to be maybe Caicedo and Gallagher, both of them are able to cut lines very well with passing. They're both very, I'm not going to say forceful. Forceful is not the word, but they're very direct runners as well, which is the same for Basuma and Saar. So I think if you can handle that midfield battle, because Stamford Bridge isn't massive. It's not like you're going to play at the Tottenham Stadium where the field is a bit wide and stuff like that. It's very, very narrow, very compact. So it's definitely going to be very interesting. But yeah, keeping
just on that Højbjerg and Alex Basuma, Papesa, you could see. So I didn't watch the match laps. I watched the highlights back after I got home, and you could see the defensive or the shape of Spurs. Bentancur is not a deep lying midfielder. Like, he likes to be further up the park. So starting with Bentancur and Højbjerg at the base of that midfield, that was already like one strike against Ange. And he noticed that immediately, and at halftime, Bentancur went off, and I think it was Papesa that came on for him at halftime. And then further on in the game, I think about 10 minutes after halftime or so, then Højbjerg went off and Basuma came on, and that's the normal. That's a standard midfield, deep lying midfielders for Spurs, and they looked so much more rigid and so much more stable after the two of them came on, and all three of Arsenal's goals were scored in the first half. So I mean that speaks for itself. Spurs was managed to have a better defensive handle on the game after those two players came on.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. You raised a good point because I also look at Spurs, and I think when they were at their best, it was because of Basuma and Saar. The energy in midfield was
Yeah,
amazing, and then they had Udogi, who would also be everywhere.
Yeah,
So I think they need to go back and get to that identity, as you said. Okay, Udogi is injured, and I don't think he'll be available, but. The main thing is Hoiberg is pretty much one dimensional. He works hard, he'll run around, but he's not going to win you the game. And I think with
yeah,
Basuma and Saar, they're capable of getting the loose balls, and that enables Son and so on and Kulusevski and the others to break forward. And
yeah,
Spurs in transition are very very good. And
yeah,
I think that's where they need to target. So yeah, I 100% agree with you. They need to make that change. And if Madison's off the boil, then rather put in an extra midfielder to support the two of them and maybe try and win the midfield battle so that
yeah,
you can then have more control in the game. Because as you said, in the second half, Spurs had a lot of the control of the game, and
yeah.
they were playing a lot of the game in Arsenal's half. Okay, the mentality of Arsenal was to just hold on to the lead, but still, I think they need to try and have that control again today. And then if you do that, you could then go on to win the game.
yeah. No, for sure. I mean, look, this falls smack bang in a run where they don't have the most favorable fixtures, and we've alluded to this and how they have influence into a lot that could happen. For me, as an Arsenal fan, I don't ever wish Spurs well, but I'm wishing them well on the second last game week of the season. That's fine. Yeah, so they had Arsenal over the weekend. They've got Chelsea tonight. They've got Liverpool over the weekend as well. So now we're just going to pivot a bit, still on Spurs, but looking at Liverpool, and especially with the incident that happened over the weekend with Mo Salah and Jurgen Klopp. Yeah, I'm not sure if you gents caught that, and what are the thoughts? I mean, after the
Yeah,
dust settled, I think Salah had the statement as he was walking past that media zone as well. If he speaks, there'll be fire. Um, yeah, initial thoughts there, Wasim. Did you catch it? Did you see it?
I saw it, but I don't know what to make of it because it was quite weird. Because like when you're coming on as a sub, generally the manager's saying, right, I back you to come on, make a change, make an impact on the game. But they
Mm,
came on, he was, about to come on, and then that argument happened. So I can't understand what it would be about. It could have been probably Klopp's giving a sarcastic comment like, okay, go make an impact now. You couldn't make an impact last week or the week before, or something of that sort. I don't know, but I just find it
yeah,
weird that there'd be an argument at that point in time. And
yeah,
so,
it was 10
and
minutes to go, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
there
think
It
it
were
was
was
10
more
minutes
than
left
that.
in the
I think it
game.
was a bit more than that. But yeah, it's just very, very odd.
mm,
Given the situation that Liverpool are in currently, they were in
yeah,
fighting for the title recently and
yeah,
going for a few trophies, and all of a sudden now the manager's leaving, and these two who have been pivotal to all of Liverpool's success in recent times, and for them to have a go at each other, I can't really understand it. But I think it's probably stemming from some time back, and it's been boiling and boiling, and it boiled over there.
It,
But yeah, it's quite interesting.
it gave me, remember that match, the when Ronaldo was asked to come on when tenhag brought him on for the last few minutes or something.
mm,
It gave
And he
me vibes like that. Like, I checked now, it was 79th minute, so it
yeah,
was
yeah,
about like 10 minutes
yeah,
left in the game. And yeah, I feel like it it could be deemed as disrespectful towards
mm,
Mo Salah, but I mean, at the end of the day, you are a paid footballer for a football club.
yeah,
And that's exactly what I said when Ronaldo was asked to go. And I don't care if you won a million Ballon d'Ors or whatever. If you are on the bench and your manager asks you to come on to do a job for him, you do it. You're getting paid to do that.
yeah,
And the exact same thing over here. There's no need to cause a fuss and cause a scene on the touchline where you know that 1,000 journalists are going to be reporting about it. I mean, they got like a professional lip reader to
oh,
try
yeah,
and decipher what the guy was saying, and it was something about if you like, I will get a red card, and like if you if you don't watch it, I will get the red card. Some nonsense like that, which is, I mean, it's stupid. Like, just get on. do what you paid to do, get on with your job, try to score a goal. Your manager's sending you on with 10 minutes to go. Before 2-3 years ago, if you had been asked to do that, you'd go on and you'd score a goal within like 2, 3, 4 minutes. So I don't understand. Like Jurgen Klopp's leaving, so do players feel like, oh, they don't have to try so hard now? Is it because the manager's out so that they know that there won't be any consequences? I don't know. I'm just very lost about the entire incident.
What's your take on that, Jason? Because for me, always a manager is the one who
Yeah,
should be shown the respect. He's the one that's making the decisions, and his job will be on the line if things don't go well. Obviously, in
hundred
Klopp's
percent.
case, he's leaving, but for me, it's always you back the manager if a player shows disrespect. So yeah, what's your take on that, Jason?
No, 100%. I think when you're in Salah's position, I think he has a right to be upset, but there's also manners about how you should go about things like that. I mean,
Yeah,
look, he's been Liverpool's most consistent performer over the last. I mean, during Klopp's reign, it's been him.
yeah,
So yeah, he has every right to be upset. But once somebody calls upon you, you need to go on and you need to do the job. Whether it's 45 minutes, whether it's 90 minutes, whether it's the last five, whether you must just come on and shield the ball in the corner so that your team keeps 3 points. It's fine. He came on the 79th minute. I think West Ham had just equalized. Antonio just scored. So I can sense that he was probably feeling that if he had come on sooner, maybe he would have closed that game off. Maybe they don't get that equalizer. But yeah, I still think with everything that's being captured, right? Everything is always being watched. I think you'll always have the scrutiny, and I don't think it leaves a bit of a bitter taste in this farewell tour. I mean, Klopp, for all that he's done, and I'm not saying it overshadows anything that he's done, but it leaves a bit of a sour taste in how you'd want to have sent him off. I think these last few results haven't been good, and I think it just coincides with a lot that's probably boiling under the surface. And now it's like, okay, if we need to get it out, let's just get it out and then start next season fresh. I think they've almost succumbed to the fact that they are completely out of this race, and it's a season that maybe they aren't too proud of. I think they only have Carabao Cup, right? If I'm not mistaken, it's not something that they're now happy about. They're used to competing for everything right until the end, and now suddenly they only leave the season with Carabao Cup. So yeah, I think there's a lot of emotions. I think what we see now when they play against Spurs is probably Salah starting. He scores the first game. After the game, he and Klopp hug and everything's okay. Because I mean, emotions are emotions. They're now professionals. They can put that aside and then they can get forward, move on. So I'm thinking it's going to be a good game over the weekend as well, just with all that added elements. I don't need Spurs to peak there. I need Spurs to peak the following week. So if anybody from that half of North London is listening, please, guys, don't peak tonight. Don't peak on Sunday. Peak when I need you to, and that's against Man City. That's what I'm asking. So just before we move on to your two lovely teams, just quickly on Klopp. His time at Liverpool has obviously been competing against a state-owned club, a club that has completely changed the way we see football, firstly, but also the way things are done. It kind of put a bit of an asterisk. Is his time at Liverpool, has it been success? Or do you look back and think, he should have probably won a few more titles, a few more trophies? Ayef, let's just go with you because I know how much you love talking about Liverpool.
Well, judging on court verdicts, you might end up with more than one title in the months to come. You never know. But yeah, I think Nikita's mentioned this a couple of times before on the pod, and it's extremely unlucky. I think that's the best way to put it. Like Jurgen Klopp has been unlucky in the sense that his team has outperformed every other team in the Premier League bar one. And I mean, it's a matter of 1.2 points, 3 points that they get. But I mean, what was that one season? It was 98 points?
98,
97
or like 90, 99, and then City had like 100 or like something like that.
Imagine you managed to accomplish like 98 points in a Premier League season and you still end up second. I mean, that just like summarizes and it just like emphasizes the point of how unlucky he's been in his reign. Because I mean, his football has been brilliant, as much as it pains me to say it and to admit it. His football has been brilliant. His team chemistry has always been 100%. There's hardly been any sort of like ructions in his camp. Like this whole Salah thing, one of the few times that it's actually happening in front of the cameras, not behind closed doors. We don't know how often it's happened in the past 7-8 years, and that's a testament to how well Klopp has handled and rallied his troops. That if something was wrong, they would he'd pull him into his office, or they'd put him aside and say, "Okay, I have this issue. What can we do to resolve it?" And I think that's also why the players just bought into his mentality, bought into his philosophy, and they got to execute the brilliant football that they displayed.
Yeah. Wasim?
I think he's definitely been very unlucky in that he's won a Champions League, he's won a Premier League, and he could have had a few more Premier Leagues. And if I look back at one of his first seasons, I think it was, they drew 2-2 with West Brom, and I remember them standing in front of the Kop and like waving to the fans, and I was at that time probably thinking, what is he doing? You just got a 2-2
They were
draw.
holding
It's like,
hands.
they were holding hands, and they were like,
Yeah.
sending off the crowd, and I was like, what are they doing? But it was because he knew that he got the crowd on his side, and they were on a journey, and he then built that brilliant team with Wijnaldum, and that whole team that won the Champions League, and so they've been a very good team. And then even last season, for example, they finished outside of the Champions League places, and then we thought, okay, that's it. Like that's the end of Klopp.
Yeah.
He's running his race with Liverpool, and then he reinvented himself within one off season where he just had a few goodbyes, McAllister and so forth, and all of a sudden that team was challenging for the championship again. So it's like he's done it on more than one occasion, and I think he is a brilliant coach. Some might say he only won one title when it was COVID and there wasn't fans in the stadium and so forth. But I think that's just having banter. I don't think anyone genuinely thinks that Klopp has failed at Liverpool. I think he's done an outstanding job, and he deserves a lot of credit.
Yeah, no, I think it's a lot of reactionary takes that you see now. They suddenly turn on this manager, but if you think back to the time before he came, they were in what I would say the wilderness, right? They were absolutely hanging on to what had happened previously, and I think that was the most common thing between Man United fans as Liverpool fans. It's like, we've got these 5 Champions Leagues, we've got all these titles and things like that. There was never a Premier League title, and there was never anything that was very recent. I think Klopp made them believe that they can compete again on that stage. I mean, if I speak to Liverpool fans, you listen to the stories of how they used to watch behind a blanket or watch behind a pillow and they had to see Jay Spearing lining up, with all of these weird and obscure signings that they had. Yeah, Odua, and they had
David Ngog
at the back. Yeah, David Ngog was their next best thing. So I definitely believe that he's done extremely well. Also, in a time where you have a club that could spend anything, and Pep could get anything that he wanted, and this isn't to say that Liverpool didn't spend, but I think he also did it in a manner that was more conventional to football. You make a few big signings, but you also balance it out with a few duds, and I think it was key signings, and he had made it work well. So yeah, happy to see the back of him, to be honest, because in his time, the guy loved playing against Arsenal, and as soon as I saw Firmino leave last season, I was happy. Now Klopp's leaving as well, and I'm like, what more can happen? Now there's another bold manager coming, so bold is best. It's like this, Arsenal's turning the corner here.
Is bold best?
Look, that's also a segment for a different show for sure. But yeah, let's use bold is best, right? And we'll pivot to your lovely cup, AF, and that I'm not sure if I can call it a horror show against Burnley or that
I
scandalous
still have not
performance,
watched the highlights. I watched the highlights of all the other matches, but I
and you've
refuse
chosen not
to
to.
watch that. I was like,
Okay,
nope, I'm just not putting myself through that. But
okay.
I,
No,
I saw the tweets though. I saw the
yeah,
tweets.
yeah, yeah. No, but also, I mean, yeah, that's the thing. I think if you're watching it from a perspective of, okay, you understand that there will be bad games, then it's very different. If you read everybody's tweets online, you'll realize that a lot of people are way too emotional, right? It really
Yeah.
knocks in them. Okay, then let's park you there. Wasim 5-1 against Sheffield. I thought it was going to be something different when Sheffield scored first. But then it felt like Newcastle of last season, Alexander Isak, Gordon involved, James. Leading into this last few games, we look at a very, I wouldn't say tricky situation, but there's potential for some movement on the log. What are you feeling for these last few games?
So for me, it was a must-win game if we want to finish in the top six, to try and get to Europa. So when we went 1-0 down, I was panicking, thinking we can't let it slip against Sheffield United. The team is basically
Yeah,
relegated, and we're at home. Team's
that's
playing
what
well,
they
so
thought last week or so when Sheffield took the lead.
yeah, yeah, I was hoping that it would work out, but it didn't. Sheffield United succumbed there also, but yeah. So that's the thing. Like I thought they're gonna let it slip, but then they turned it around. I think goals change games, and
Yeah,
Isak. I mean, we weren't creating too many chances, and then one
yeah,
through ball, Isak ran onto it, and he finished it perfectly. And suddenly we were all over Sheffield United, and for the rest
yeah,
of the game. So I think I was very happy with that because, like I say, that was a pivotal game in terms of if we want to keep in keep in touch with Man United because they had Sheffield
yeah,
United and Burnley at home, which was
yeah,
going to be 4 or 6 points for them. It ended up being 4 points thanks to the late penalty. But yeah, so now we're 1 point behind them, and given that we still have to play them, I think it's all to
yeah,
play for now for both clubs. And the problem is we've got 3 out of our 4 games away from home, and we don't generally perform well away from home. So we're gonna have to turn that around. But I think we've got players playing well. Isak, Bruno's playing well, and Gordon's playing well. So
yeah,
if our big name players can stand up, then we could still sneak in six. And I think top six would be a huge success for us this season, given all the injuries, given the disappointment of the Champions League, the Tonali ban, and all of those things. I think if we can sneak top six, it would be great. But yeah, I'm hoping Spurs also win tonight just to help us secure sixth and seventh, and then we can target six outright in our last few games.
that's fair. If I actually didn't realize that you have Newcastle in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah.
With your run of fixtures that are now coming up and with the inconsistency shown, what are you feeling for this last few games? Obviously Newcastle, and then you have Arsenal, I think, the Sunday before. Are you still going to sit on the Europa League train, or is it Conference League too?
Chekia, I think Erik ten Hag is living in a dreamland over there. He thinks that they're going to win the FA Cup. So that's going to be their one-way ticket to the Europa League. And I think somebody needs to wake that bra up, honestly. There's no way. There's no way. But yeah, man, I don't know what else to say about
Yeah,
United. Like they just like I mean, if Charles is a lucky packet team, then I don't know what United is because they something much worse than that. Um, and I mean the Sheffield game, they played well. That I mean they didn't play badly, but then
yeah,
they kept on having these like defensive lapses. I think that
yeah,
was the most shots on target we've had this year. Um, from an attacking point of view, yes, I know we've had a lot of shots against us,
yeah,
but I think the Sheffield game was the one that we created the most chances. Our XG was the highest. And yeah, I mean that only means one thing, like we played good football, but then I saw all the stats against Burnley and it's like the complete opposite. Burnley was in control. Burnley should have taken their chances, and I mean they were unlucky apparently to not win that game.
yeah,
um Granted, there was apparently a handball also that United should have gotten, but I haven't seen it, so I don't know anything about that. These are all just tweets that I read
yeah,
during the game. But yeah, like if they played like they did against Sheffield, and I mean the fixtures that we have coming up, Crystal Palace has been great for the past 3 months.
Yeah.
Ali's coming in and he's just revitalized that team to no end. And then we have Newcastle, who are also they're vying for that spot, and I think their fight will be much harder than United's. And then we have Arsenal, who wants the title, and then finally to end off, I think it's Brighton,
Right,
um,
anyway.
final
Yeah.
game of the season. Who also like they can fight if they want to.
Yeah.
So it's four extremely tough games, and I
Yeah.
don't know if my team has the mettle to go up and to be up for that task. Honestly, like I don't know why I'm just getting that feeling that tenhag thinks that they can win the FA Cup and go to the Europa League via that route. Like it won't even surprise me.
But I think what has been the main thing for United this season is when they've had big games, they have actually upped their levels. So I
Yeah.
think although your fixtures are hard on paper, I think that might actually play in your favor because now all of a sudden, the players' mentality will change. It's not going to be like, it's Sheffield United, it's an easy game. It's Burnley,
Yeah,
it's an easy game. They're probably going to think, no, we're going to show this team that we are also good, or they're going to lift their spirits. And you just need, to win, for example, the Newcastle game at home, and you could then seal a top six spot. So I think it's still in your court. The ball is still in your court, and it's
yeah.
within
But
your grasp. But yeah, I
I
get
mean,
what you're saying, but I think it might also work on the flip side because now we're writing
yeah.
them off, and they're a dangerous team when you write them
Yeah.
off.
Yeah,
For
but
sure.
also like it goes back to like what we've discussed so often already, and that's United's mentality. They play good football for majority of the game, and then like with Chelsea, Bournemouth, Brentford, Liverpool, and now Burnley as well. They concede right at the end, so then all of that hard work is undone. Chelsea, they ended up losing 4-3. That's 3 points lost. They had 3 points in the bag, literally, until like 2-3 minutes before the game ended. Liverpool also, they were coasting with 3 points. Liverpool equalized. Bournemouth, Brentford also, they lost 3 points so often, and we could literally be in contention for top four, given all the injuries and everything
Yeah.
that's been against United this season. We could comfortably be in top four right now if we had to see all of those. It's like 7 games of the season. That's easily like a minimum of like 20 odd points that we could have had on our tally. Um, but yeah, like again, this weekend against Burnley, and that's one thing that I did see. I saw the clip of Onana spearing. I don't know which player it was. I just saw him like take that guy out completely,
Dooney.
and that happened at the starting of the season as well.
Yeah.
I can't remember which matches it
Wolves,
was.
it
Wolves.
was your first game.
Was it
The
Wolves?
first
Yeah,
game of the season. Yeah.
yeah, and exact same challenge, but this one was a penalty. That one wasn't. So inconsistency in refereeing, shocker. Um, but yeah, like it happens at the end of every game. So even if it's 93 minutes on the clock and United is leading 2-0, I still won't be comfortable because any like this team has disappointed me so often this season. You never know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, I think
Uh,
one thing I want to raise is like the mentality of the team, and I think the coach has to take a lot of the blame because I look at a player like Jadon Sancho yesterday. I watched him and I was like, wow, this is a player reborn. He's like really exciting to watch. And I'm like, Man United had him on the books, and because of the spat with the manager, they now don't have him, and he's playing in the Champions League semi-final with Sabitzer, who they also had last season on their books. And it's
Yeah.
just like I do start to question the manager. Like, is he making the right decisions? Why is he not
mm,
getting the best out of certain players? And so
mm.
I think he's going to be under huge pressure, and
Marcus
it's going to be
Rashford,
yeah,
bruh.
exactly, another player who maybe a
Play
year
him at
ago,
left wing every time, no matter what his form is, and let the other players suffer. And it happened.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, that's the thing. He's made some questionable decisions. He's tried to probably back one player like a Rashford, for example, but it hasn't worked. And the others have fallen by the wayside. But then again, he's also decided to buy a player of Anthony's caliber, and they've overspent dramatically for him, and he's not even repaying him. So yeah, I really do question the manager. I feel that the squad has capabilities like they can be a decent team, but because he's not the right person, they are falling way short. So that's also going to be a big topic of discussion towards the end of the season. If he doesn't get Europa and he doesn't win the FA Cup, then what happens? Are they going to be happy to give him the close season and let him spend on players that might not be playing for him next season if he gets the sack, midway through the season? So lots of decisions to make, and yeah, I'm hoping they fall short, but we'll have to see what happens.
Nah, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, look, we have so many different permutations for this last few games, and I think it makes it very exciting. I think after the season where we thought it was just going to be City or maybe it's just going to be Arsenal and Liverpool, there's still so many different subplots that could happen. And I think as a neutral, but both as a fan of your respective team, I think it's going to be a massive run. And I think it's a very exciting time, especially since there are games that are going to be coming so thick and fast as well, with the Champions League mixed in there as well. I think it's a great time for football fan. And then we go straight into the Euro. So it's like probably great little warm up into that. Gents, that is that. Wasim, where can the folks?
Do we not just want to do quick predictions for Spurs Liverpool?
Oh yeah, no, sure. Let's go for that then. AFC, as you support Liverpool in the secret, what are you what are you predicting for that game?
I'm gonna cut that out.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm gonna go with a Spurs 2-1.
Okay. Wait. The game's at Anfield, right?
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Okay. Last game was when they had that suspicious goal, that VAR incident. Okay. Wasim?
It's at Anfield. I just also double checked. I'm gonna go 3-1 Liverpool. I think they've had a bad run of form, and they obviously haven't done as well as they would have liked. But I feel it's going to click all on Sunday against Spurs. Spurs are a team who, like I say, have performed poorly. They've also had a lot of tough games, like they would have played Arsenal, and then Chelsea tonight, and then Liverpool. So it's a bit tough to lift yourself for every big game. So I'm going to back Spurs to get the result tonight, but then be too tired to give Liverpool a game. So I think Liverpool 3-1 I'm going to go with.
Okay. No, that's fair. Okay, then I'll go. I think it's going to be a draw. I think it's going to be a 2-2 draw. Very exciting game. I think with all the elements that we throw into the pot, we cook up this nice game. I think 2-2 is a fair reflection. I think Salah, they start off hot and then Spurs somehow clawed back. I think AF, when we finish the season, we need to pull up all of the predictions and we'll see who was most accurate, because I don't think we anywhere close, to be honest.
I know AFC Chelsea were going to be doing well this season, eh? Were they?
No, that was last season.
Oh, was it last season? Okay.
This season, I predicted Arsenal to win the Premier League.
Well, you're still within a shot of being right, eh? So.
And I predicted that one of City or Liverpool won't be in the top two. So I'm riding that wave also.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Okay. Then we've got the predictions. Wasim, where can the folks find you on the socials?
Yeah, mainly just on Twitter. So on X, Wasim Prime, as you see on the screen there. Give me a like and give me a follow, and do like this video as well, so that we can have more Sporticast football videos coming soon.
Perfect. AF?
Yeah, I'm at AF Parker 642 across all social media. Just to inform the viewers or the listeners that Wasim is part of the cricket podcast 6 and Out on the Sporticast platform. So yeah, they're doing a lot of IPL recaps, and this week's episode is regarding the Cricket World Cup squad announcements for the tournament. I think it's in June. So check those videos out as well.
Yeah, perfect. If you don't want to plug your other hobby, mate, I think people need to know that we're sitting among some royalty. AF just recently attended Comic-Con and he interviewed everybody under the sun. Yeah.
No, I just interviewed a couple of people. I didn't interview everybody, but yeah, I just I write for a publication called Agents of Fandom. You can find them on all social media platforms. But yeah, just pop culture, comic books, TVs, movies, and yeah, Comic Con was amazing. That's the reason why I wasn't able to watch much of the football live. And yeah, I guess it was a blessing in disguise on Saturday. I didn't have to watch United play live.
No, that's 100% fair. I think it was a good, healthy distraction for you, and I think it will serve you well in the off season. But also to all the football fans that have other hobbies that are not only solely based on football, Agents of Fandom, that's where you can find something good for you. At Jason_Ronnie, that's where you'll find me on X. Instagram, yeah, unless you want to see what I do in my personal time, you can follow me there. But yeah, thanks. We have been 343. We appreciate all the love. We appreciate all the support, all the shares. It's really not going unnoticed. And yeah, as we wrap up episode 64, it's really just wild to think that there've been a few loyal and there've been a lot of new people, and we thank you for that. So yeah, it just keeps spreading the word. We're just a few guys that like to talk about footy. Yeah, and we've got a whole lot of other things coming. So please watch the space. Gents, thanks, and enjoy the footy tonight. Have a good one.
Peace.
Cheers.